Welcome back into today's video. Going to have a look at weather for the next 8 to 10 days. In today's video, this will take us towards the end of the month, actually, to around the 29th of January. We're going to have a cold week this week, and there is a risk of some snow through the middle part of the week. Across parts of the country, I'll have a very quick look at that in a moment, but I'll update the Snow Watch page this evening where I'll have a more in-depth look. It's just time to come into the time frame of the higher resolution models now, the middle part of the week. So it's beginning to get into those high-res type time frames. Have a look at it in detail this evening, but I'll just show you quickly what the latest GFS is showing for the middle part of the week. Also going to have a look at the events in the stratosphere. The first run of the GFS model this morning showed again a very big stratospheric one, but it's been toned down on the very latest run. These are all very extended charts around the start of February, so we can expect chopping and changing a bit. I'll show you the charts on that in a moment. And as I say, we're going to look at the next 8 to 10 days. We're going to be cold this week. I think we'll go a bit milder next week and start to push those westerlies back through. Before I get on with that though, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on most of the pages at gavsweathers.com. Have a browse through the widgets, and if there's any articles that you're interested in, just click through. We've got to read those articles, and thanks so much for doing that. Right, let's start off with the snow situation through the middle part of the week. We're going to be bringing a weather system in towards cold air that's over the country now on Tuesday, and that will last into Wednesday and going off in towards the start of Thursday as well. This would be precipitation type forecast from the weatheroutlook.com from the GFS model. Pink is indicating snow and blue is indicating rain. This is for 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, Tuesday 20th of January. We've got a band of rain through these western coastal regions, something quite heavy up the Irish Sea, turning to snow across southwestern parts of Scotland, possibly North Wales. Elsewhere mainly dry. It did look as though this was going to come in, give us quite a wet sort of dampish day on Tuesday, but it's being pushed back now, the progress of this. And that's good news in a way if you want it cold, because it means the cold air is hanging in there. It's hanging in longer and delaying the progress of this weather front. So yeah, Tuesday looks like a mainly dry day now away from western coast. As we get through towards Tuesday evening, it's 6 o'clock in the evening, the rain is pushing in towards Wales and parts of Scotland, North West England as well, turning to snow on the full day. It's not a great deal, except around southwest Scotland, where there's some quite heavy snow starting to develop. And then go to 9 o'clock in the evening, it's also starting to push inland, really quite heavy rain coming up through Wales and turning to heavy snow as it gets in towards northwestern parts of England and down in towards the West Midlands. Still mostly dry to the east of that. We move through to midnight on Wednesday, and very little progress has been made with that weather system. So it's rain for Wales and southwestern parts of England, something quite heavy. Snow coming through northern England, going down in towards the North and West Midlands, and just starting to extend into other parts of the Midlands as well, perhaps. And then 3 o'clock in the morning, it's really in across the Midlands and going up towards Lincolnshire, maybe some parts of Yorkshire. That's where the GFS is seeing the risk of snow then. Not tremendously heavy at that point, but certainly persistent would be enough to give a covering. Rain further south and southwest, although it's clearing up actually across Wales and southwestern England. But there's a bit of a stall going on here, and as you go through to 6 o'clock in the morning, that stalling system is pepping up, so the colours are becoming more vibrant there across the Midlands. A big snow event going on over the Midlands at 6 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. Heavy snow falling, and that extends up towards parts of Lincolnshire as well. And then that just gets heavier, that snow, as we go through into 9 o'clock in the morning. Really vibrant pink colours there, indicating some heavy snow indeed, centred over the Midlands. If it's right, Midlands is in for a lot of snow on Wednesday morning. It's still going on over the top of the Midlands at midday on Wednesday, so that's what, sort of 12 hours of persistent and increasingly heavy snow being indicated there for the Midlands, before, by the time you get through to Wednesday afternoon, it all starts to fizzle out. It never really makes it into East Anglia and South East England on this particular run of the GFS. It just stalls over Midlands, peps up, and then eventually, as it runs out of energy, starts to die away by the time we get through in 6 o'clock in the evening. Still some light snow flurries going on, but by then it's mostly died away. And I say it never really gets into East Anglia and the far southeast of England. Now, this is from the GFS one. It's not a high resolution model, so there is caveats applied with that. But GFS has been going for this on quite a few of its updates. Actually, it's been a fairly consistent theme that the Midlands could get quite a big snow event on Wednesday. Generally restricted to the Midlands, not really getting into the east and the southeast. And Wales and southwest England has more rain. Northern England doesn't have a tremendous amount either. So if you're in the Midlands, you could be in the prime position really for this. But I say it's a low resolution model, lower resolution model. It's had a bit of an upgrade actually recently, but don't be reliant on that as being the way that it does pan out. We'll have a look at some of the higher resolution models on the Snowwatch page this evening. Right, excuse me. Right, let's have a look at the situation in the stratosphere. This is the stratospheric temperature forecast from the 6 o'clock run of the GFS model starting on the 27th of January. Stratosphere is right at the very top of the atmosphere. When you get warming up there in the stratosphere over the pole, eventually it propagates down into the troposphere. Once that warming gets into the troposphere, it can start to set up blocking over top of the North Pole. So stratospheric warmings are one of the things that we look for to precede the chance of blocking and colder conditions. And if you get a sudden stratospheric warming, which means the temperature shoots up by about 30-40 degrees within a day or so, that can be a precursor to getting cold. We have sort of minor stratospheric warmings throughout this winter so far, but we haven't had one of those huge jumps in temperature that would be the threshold of a sudden stratospheric warming yet. Well, this is the latest forecast from the GFS 6 o'clock run, and we see that as we run through, there is a bit of a warming occurring again as we get through towards the start of February. Notice the yellow colours appearing around Siberia. This is for the 31st of January, yellow colours over towards Siberia. And that starts to push in towards the pole as we're getting towards the start of February. The colours are going up towards orange, so that's a fairly significant one, but it's in line with the sort of warmings that we've been having throughout the winter. It's not a major sudden stratospheric warming where we see the red colours appear. And actually the midnight run of the GFS did have a sudden stratospheric warming in line with all of yesterday's GFS runs. So this is the midnight run, and you see the difference is that it's much bigger warming and much more intense. Those red colours really pushing in towards the top of the North Pole from Siberia. So the 6 o'clock run has toned things down a little bit with this stratospheric warming. It's all in the unreliable time frame for GFS, but the stratospheric charts, once you get to sort of 324 hours away, a couple of weeks away, the stratospheric charts are as unreliable as all the other charts really that the GFS is churning out. So let's just monitor it, keep an eye on it. It may be that we don't get this stratospheric warming, or it could be that 6 o'clock run is just tone things down too much. Let's wait and see how things pan out. Obviously I'll be keeping you posted. These are the 500 millibar height anomaly charts for the next 10 days. We've got the ECMWF over on the left, the GFS is over on the right, 500 millibars, 8 about to peak. It's an area in the atmosphere where high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Blue is low pressure, and orange and red is high pressure. And we see that on both the ECM and the GFS, we've got a very deep trough here coming back into the northeast United States. We're having a cold winter, was predicted, but I think the coldest part of winter possibly still to come for them. A really, really deep plunge of cold air coming out of the Arctic in Canada later on next week. That's going to be very newsworthy if that comes off. A lot of snow and severe cold for many northern eastern parts of the states. That will probably enhance the jet stream and probably pull us back into a westerly as we go through into next week. May both show this deep trough in the north and east of the states, and then may both show the jet stream running out of the Atlantic and in towards the British Isles, indicated by those tight lines. Now, we've got a bit of a ridge sitting up to the northeast, or quite a strong ridge sitting up to the northeast on both the GFS and the ECMWF over Scandinavia and western parts of Russia. So it could be a bit of a battle as this jet stream runs in. It looks like like going to split, with some of the energy going off to the north, some of it going down to south, when it cut off down through the Mediterranean. But overall, I think we're probably going back into a westerly next week. I think this cold plunge in the north and the eastern states will produce enough severely cold air in the Atlantic to really blow up the jet stream again, and possibly give us a relatively stormy end to January and start to February. That would be my best guess on how things are panning out next week. So the GFS temperature ensemble, see this pick up in the temperatures next week. We're cold at the moment, and we're staying cold for pretty much the rest of this week. We get through to the weekend and the temperatures gradually start to stage recovery, but it's not really until we get through to next week. This is 27th of January just here. Not really until we get through to next week, but temperatures properly start pushing up. Mendel's I go quite mild for a while, but there's a lot of scatter in here as we're going out in the second half of the ensemble. 1st of February is just here. Lots and lots of scatter coming through there. So maybe we're going back into a bit of a zonal sine wave, if anything, with warmer and colder sectors. But I suppose the cold air could hang on. That Scandinavian high is pretty intense, so it may keep the cold air close by. But overall, I think we're seeing a trend there for a warming over weekend into next week, and turning increasingly wet as well, probably through next week as that jet stream starts to power back through. This is the generic GFS chart for Friday the 23rd, and we're still in a cold pattern there. We've got a ridge over the country, trying to get up towards Scandinavia as well, but it's the low pressure in the Atlantic that's trying to break that down. We go through in Saturday and sunny, and probably keep it quite cold in the south. Actually, it may be very frosty, even up to Sunday down across England and Wales, but the westerlies and southwesterlies are very gradually pushing back in towards Scotland and Northern Ireland. By the time we get through to Monday the 26th, I think the westerlies are coming back then, as the high pressure begins to collapse down in towards central parts of Europe. We're pushing the westerlies through, and they sort of extend out then through next week, so it turns increasingly unsettled. And this is the chart for day 10, Thursday the 29th. Quite a deep area of low pressure coming back towards Iceland, maybe bringing gales in across the country, and possibly some bouts of heavy rain as well. The ECMWF is seeing this change. I think we've got the big area of high pressure over Scandinavia and western Russia on Friday. We're still in a cold pattern up to Friday. A system comes through Saturday. Now I've got to watch out for that. Friday into Saturday, this next system coming through, that could again give a risk of snow, but it's more likely to be rain, I would suggest, with that one. But we'll know more a bit nearer the time. But we bring that system through a Friday into Saturday, pulling a westerly wind, although it's still relatively cold and high pressure is still hanging on across England. So I think down in the south we're likely to keep it cold throughout next weekend, actually. But as we go into next week, then we start to see the high pressure breaking down. We're pulling the westerlies back in as we run through next week. We get through to Thursday the 29th of January, and again we're firmly back into that westerly flow once again, with signs of the polar vortex being reinvigorated over towards Greenland as that cold air comes out of the United States. That's severely cold air. The GEM finally, the ridge through the country on Friday, keeping it cold. Bring a system through Friday night into Saturday. That could bring some snow in places, but it's probably more likely to be rain. Then we probably keep it cold in the south over the weekend. Turns a bit milder in the north. Then next week, that's when the westerlies firmly start to come back in, although this is still suggesting that ridging is taking place across the country, actually, even up to Tuesday the 27th, so that could keep it relatively cold, actually, even into the start of next week. But very gradually the westerlies do come back as we get through to day 10, Thursday the 29th. Those westerlies are in then, and it is a good deal milder. So that's probably where we're going. I think we're definitely going to have a cold week this week. It's going to be the coldest week for a couple of years, I've explained in other videos. There's a risk of snow midweek. And then as we go through to the weekend, probably stays cold across England and Wales, turns a bit milder for Scotland and Northern Ireland. Next week, the westerlies push down across the country, and we may end up where we started, really, at the very end of January. We may end up where we started the month, which is quite a stormy pattern, actually, with gales coming in as that severely cold air from the United States comes over the Atlantic again and blows up the jet stream. Beyond that, it's going to be all eyes on whether we get this sudden stratospheric warming over the pole. If we do, that could be the death knell for the polar vortex and could lead us into a proper blocked pattern as we get on into middle and second half of February. But let's wait and see. It may not even happen. So I hope that video interesting. Come back tonight to the Stowe Watch page for all the latest on the Stowe situation midweek. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.